Hello, everyone. So I just came back from vacation last week and I've been playing a lot of games, and I thought that it's kind of a good time for me to just do some of these recorded game reviews. I think it helps a lot of players kind of understand the game a little bit better when they understand the decision making that goes on between top level players. So starting off, I'm playing Raw versus Kimo's Oranos. I think even though Ra is considered one of the best gods in the game, I think Oranos is actually really has all the tools to deal with Ra, even at a very high level like this. And we're gonna go over it in a bit. Let me just turn the sound down a little bit. Should have done that, but okay. So we're gonna go over a little bit. So starting off, what I like to do with Ra is I just put my first monument down to cover all of my starting resources. So you can see that I covered the giraffe here, the berries, sorry, the chicken there, the gold for sure, and the berries. And I just barely got it touch with the wood line right here. So everything is being empowered at this point. So that's ideally your goal as raw, right? And then after that, you just want to kind of advance at a reasonable time, and we will go into that a little bit later. As Uranus, it's pretty straightforward. Kimo actually did a little bit of a different strategy, which I don't know if I agree with here. What Kimo decided to do this game was he would just put one oracle in the back of his base and gather all as much favor as possible, and then the other two oracles will just scout the map. So this is a strategy that he implemented here. I think the reasoning behind this is, well, A, of course he wants to get more favor, but B, he wants to valor as many hero citizens as possible to jumpstart his economy and get a little bit of an edge in that regard. So yeah, so interesting to see the little bit of a interesting creative strategy from Kimo. And other than that, he's just trying to get a reasonable age up timing. The build order I think I have on my channel is pretty similar to what he does as well. Nothing too, I mean, it doesn't really matter too much about the build order. As long as you're advancing around 4:15, 4 minutes 30, it's not a big deal. So now what Kimo does is he puts a Sky Passage in his main base, Sky Passage at his second TC, and he rushes down this town center as fast as he possibly can so that there's no shenanigans like a Shifting Sands shenanigans to kind of like stop it. And he can get that TC up really fast, start producing villagers from here, and that way he can get an economic advantage, right? So remember, in these type of games at a high level, it's all about getting little tiny advantages, and these little tiny advantages are going to pay off in the mid game. It's not You're not going to be able to really get a major advantage over another top player early on. Sometimes you can, but not very often, right? So you can see that Kimo here is just getting his TC up as fast as he can with all his villagers, and you can also see that he heroized two villagers too. So that's why he had this oracle here just gathering as much favor as possible so that he can heroize citizens. And by heroizing citizens, you can see there's a third hero right there as well. He can gather resources faster and he allows a little bit more safety. So these hero citizens are going to be a lot tougher than regular citizens, right? So 100 HP to 125. So just a little bit of a buff right there. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is these hero citizens with this upgrade are even more supercharged. So if you get this upgrade, you're going to get so much extra additional resources from these villagers that are heroized citizens. So key takeaways: heroize your citizens if you want to play this type of game, and get Theft of Fire, which is available from Prometheus, and get that in your economic guild. Okay, so now let's go into my point of view. I'm here trying to do a little bit of damage. I know that he's took his TC really quickly, so and I know that Ra has a little bit of an early game advantage because I have these Wadgets. Worst case scenario, I know that if he like somehow made a little bit of army, what I would have done was just transported them out with my Shifting Sand. So you can see I caused a little bit of a reaction here. I made him get towers. I made him put down two military barracks, and I also made him go on goats. So now he's going to be running goats in general. You don't want to use early on. You want to wait until the last minute to use them. The reason why is they fatten over time. You can see that it's slowly fattening. So this little bit of aggression that I put on him was pretty massive in the grand scheme of things. So you always want to do a little bit of poking, see if he doesn't have any units, and if you have something like Shifting Sands or even a Shockwave, you can kind of get out of. It's like your get out of jail free card. So these are things you kind of want to incorporate into your play. See if you can do a little bit of poking and harassments. And you can see Kimo's already on farm, so this is not a good thing for Aranos. You don't want to be in this position. In my opinion, like Kimo should have probably dropped a Sky Passage here, gathered some hunt here. Um, he could have done a lot more, right? So there was a ton of hunt in the side, so he didn't need to get on farms as quickly. It's good to get a little bit of farms because you get a little bit of steady food income, but you don't want to get so heavy into farms because now you can see that he has what, 9 farms, and 9 farms cost 150 each. So you're looking at a significant amount of resources that could have been utilized in other ways. You could have utilized these farms into taking a third TC, getting an upgrade, getting more military units out. That's why you kind of want to delay this until you possibly can. So think about this for a second. Instead of these 10 units he has here, he could have had maybe 15 or 20 units. So 15 or 20 units on the map means he would have easily decimated this army I would have had, right? So he could have ran this over easily if he had a few more units in his stockpile. Here I saw his little bit of a proxy base. Pro tip: always make sure that you're scouting for sky passages when you're playing versus Oranos. That's the first thing. And the second thing is to make sure that you wall up because you don't want him dropping a sky passage at the back of your base because he can kind of like, just cause a ton of mayhem if he's able to do so. Um, so now at this point, I lost my army, but I was able to do a little bit of economic damage. Overall, not worth it. I think I didn't have enough axemen in that mix, so he got me there. So now I'm just trying to figure out what I should do. I'm thinking at this point in time, it didn't work what I was trying to do, and I don't have a military advantage at this point. So what should I do? And usually at the moment, the easiest answer is to just expand your economic lead. This is a little bit risky, which I did hear, but it's a little bit on the riskier side. Or the other option is just to get to Mythic, right? Mythic is just usually the easiest option at the moment to play this game. You don't really need to make that many units. Just get to Mythic, get your power spike, and then play from there. I don't really like that type of gameplay, but unfortunately, that's usually the best option at the moment. So I'm just trying to solidify my economy, get my farms up, kind of stabilize a little bit, and I constantly keep on poking because I want to see two things that I want to see. I want to see what units he's making, and then I also want to see if he's continuously making units, right? Because if I see that he's stopping on making units, then I know okay, an implode is coming. So I'm gonna either push into him, or I'm gonna try to just prepare, like get really greedy, get all my upgrades, and just get ready for the implode, and then I'll make units afterwards. It's always the one of the most so he did chaos here and I just shifting sands. I think this was a bad shifting sands. I only saved a handful of units. But anyways, what I was going to say is making units is always something that you should think about doing last. You don't want to make units unless you absolutely have to. And the reason why is these units are unproductive assets at the moment, right? They're running around, they're looking to do damage, but from the grand scheme of things, they're all unproductive. These villagers are all productive. They're all working, they're gathering resources, they're giving you um, more value over time. So if you make military units, you're not going to be able to get these upgrades. You're not going to be able to, like, for example, if I didn't have all these units, maybe I could just get more upgrades for my watchtower. I can get guard tower. I can get more armory upgrades. I can get, like, what's it called, I can get more monuments up. I can get all 5 monuments up. These are all things that are opportunity costs in a sense. So you don't want to make units unless you absolutely have to. Now, this is one of the hardest skills to master, how many units to make. The best players in the world can actually defend on the least amount of units. They can defend with just their buildings, their towers, and stuff like that. And it's really an art form to be able to see something like that. Anyways, now he's in Mythic. He used his Tartarus Gate on the side. So his goal, and I recognize this as well, was to try to sway my army to the right-hand side here. And by swaying my army to the right-hand side here, he was going to push down the middle right here. So that was what he wanted to do because he knows that my gold mine is here and my trade is here. So I had to be a little bit careful. I didn't want to just swing my units all the way from here to here immediately. I wanted to be a little bit more diligent as to, let me clean up a little bit of his army first and then I'll move my army backwards. If I just move my army right now, he would be here and the game would be over. So I try to wait it out, try to get a little bit of a little bit of a military advantage, a lead before I actually try to clean this up. And you can see Tartar's Gate is causing a little bit of problems for me. It's killing my economic units. It's about to take out that TC, but luckily I was able to get a tornado, cleaned up half of his units, and then from there on out, I sent a siege ram, which is coming right here. Whoops, sorry. Siege ram's coming right here. Pharaoh, a handful of units, and I'm going to take that out very soon. Now, he's still enacting his plan in motion, which is he wants to push down this side right here. And that makes sense. So I saw that he's doing that. I decided to throw down my Citadel Center. This thing does a lot of damage, 75.6 pierce damage per second. That's absolutely ridiculous because if you look at a regular TC, that's 40 damage per second, right? And that's a fortified one too. This one does 75 damage per second, and it does bonus versus cavalry too. Absolutely insane. And then there's 22 range on this too. So really, really strong. And that was able to kind of defend this side of the map when his push was coming in. So Citadel came in clutch there, but I'm still losing ground. This Tartarus Gate did a lot of damage, and if you can see it, you can actually see that I'm in a little bit of a trouble right here because this is my last gold mine. So I need to start thinking about, okay, when this gold mine ends, what am I going to do? And I identified this one right here. So let me tell you my game plan. I wanted to kind of like slim down his forces here, try to make him overcommit on this side a little bit. And then what I was going to do is take this gold mine, and then I was going to push this town center from here. Because if I'm not the one pushing, and this is a very important thing, if I'm not the one pushing versus Oranos is going to completely destroy you because he's going to be able to control all the sides with sky passages. You can see there's a sky passage here, there's a sky passage here. So let's say I'm just trying to defend his raids and I'm not the one being aggressive. Well, he can just teleport his entire army from here to here, push this town center, and I can be in a lot of trouble. So I need to find the point in time in which I can be aggressive. So that's my game plan, right? Defend this a little bit, make sure that I don't lose this side completely. And then as soon as there's a little bit of downtime, there's a little bit of peace, and I've kind of stabilized, I'm going to push straight down the middle because I don't want him controlling the sides. So if I can push down the middle, once again, I'm reiterating it, then he can't just easily push down the sides and do what he wants, right? So you want to be in control of the game. You don't want him to take control or lead the game in the way that he wants. If he gets to play the game in the way that he wants, then you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So here you can see that there's some Man of Wars. He mixed it into his army. I'm just gonna take a screenshot here as well for my thumbnail. But yeah, so he mixed in some Man of Wars. So once these Man of Wars came out, all hope was lost. There was absolutely no chance whatsoever that I can actually defend this anymore because these units are 40 divine damage and they do splash damage on units as well, right? So he has 4 of them. They all have a whopping 900 HP. So killing this is going to be an insurmountable amount of work, right? So I don't want to fight this because I know I'm going to lose. Now, what I did, I told you guys that I want to control the game. I don't want him to decide where we're fighting. So what I did was I took my entire army and I'm going to rotate it around here. This gold mine is almost over anyways. It's almost done. Now, if Kimo was actually on his game and he thought about this for a second, he could have won this game a little bit. A thing he could have done was he could have made a fire siphon right here, 1 or 2 fire siphons supported by these Man of Wars, and he could have taken down the Citadel Center because there's no way I can actually stop those fire siphons. Now, you could use catapults to kind of like kill them slowly, but that's wasting a lot of my time as well, right? Then I'm not able to push. Now, you got to understand what your strengths and weaknesses are. My strength in this game is my units. My units are 23 range raw chariots, right? It's one of the strongest units in the game. So he doesn't have a really strong army to be able to contend with this. On top of that, I have Horus Spearmen, which have bonus damage, additional bonus damage versus cavalry, and they have more hit points and more movement speed. So I have an absolutely insane army. What I need to do is I need to utilize this army and make it an army versus army battle. You don't want this to be a building siege battle. You want this him making as many units as he can, and we're clashing armies as much as we can because that's for me. That's how I am able to utilize the strengths of my civilization. Now he's looking for some raiding damage. He doesn't want me to do this. This is the last place on the map that he wants me to be. There's no other place on the map he wants. So this is the absolute best possible position on this map, and it's just honestly, I think I would have lost this game if I didn't identify that, if I don't control this territory right here, the game is over. So by me identifying the right place for my army to be situated was the ability for me to kind of take over this game because I was not winning this game. I looked in the post game. He had more resources than me. He had more map control than me. Look at the map. Like I'm in a little tiny bottle, right? So um, it's very, very difficult. This was a very difficult game. And if I didn't identify this, put my Migdo here. Let me explain another thing as well. It's a very important thing. You want to take over certain positions that accomplish more than one goal. Now, when you ask yourself, what does this accomplish, right? Well, firstly, it accomplishes the fact that I'm sieging into his town center. That's the first thing. The second thing is since I'm sieging into his town center, his army has to be here to defend. That means he can't raid me on the sides of the map. That's the second thing. The third thing is my gold mine is being protected um, as a result of me pushing down this way. So he can't just harass this gold mine because my army is also here as well. So all of these things are playing all of these things are being taken into consideration when you decide where you want to position your army and where you want to fight. And I think that there was no other spot on the map that would have allowed me to secure victory. This was the only spot. If it wasn't for this spot, I would have lost, right? And still, it's still very tough. It's not like I'm just walking him over. But once the town center goes down, I have two citadels, and these citadels give you additional population space, right? So I have a way bigger army than him, and I have a way stronger army than him. So yeah, in a nutshell, if you're going to take one thing away from this game, I think what you should take away is you want to be where your opponent does not want you to be, right? And I ask myself, where do I not want Kimo to be at this point? And there's a very clear answer. I don't want him pushing here with Man of Wars. If he pushes here with Man of Wars, I'm in trouble because I can't stop that. Man of Wars, I think, are a little bit busted on waters right now, on the water maps, right? Hybrid water maps, rather. So I don't want him to be here. I don't want him to be here either, right? So I don't want him to be here. I don't want him to be here. So if he actually played a little bit differently, for example, if I was in his position, I would have recognized that I'm not going to win this, right? Maybe I would have recognized this. Every game is different. Sometimes you just don't see it. It's hard, right? So if I recognize I'm not going to win this, I would ask myself, where does Magic not want me to be? And the answer would have been right here. I would have pushed down here. I would have let him have this town center for free, and I would have taken this town center. Now it's going to be a little bit different. So then, of course, what Magic would do, like I'm putting myself in Kimo's position, is I would push down the middle here. And if that was the case, then I would push down the middle here. Sorry, the side here. I wouldn't fight this army until the last minute. He has the advantage in a sense that he's able to transport his entire army through these sky passages, right? So he puts a sky passage here. He takes out this citadel. Immediately, once that citadel goes down, he puts a sky passage here, takes down this TC. That's two TCs down. Now, by that time, I would be pushing into his main TC, and he would come probably in the brink of time just to be able to defend this. He's going to have a population advantage. I'm going to be at an economic disadvantage because all my farms are here and my trade is here as well. And that would have been his key to secure victory. But instead, like stuff like that is not easy to actually like figure out in the heat of the moment, especially in these type of games. It's very, very difficult. And I think late game is one of the hardest points of the game because everyone plays the early game, the mid game. You play that over and over again. The late game, you don't really get to this stage very often in games. So overall, that's what I think he should have done. And I think if there's one thing you're going to take away from this game, just ask yourself, where does your opponent not want you to be, and appear there. All right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you want to see more like this. If there's something else you guys all want to see, just post it in the comment section. Whatever gets the most amount of likes, I'll try to do that. All right, thank you for watching. Take care. Bye.